have you here for our final installment of our parent onboarding series. I'm joined today by a celebrity on campus, Sherry Ibrahimi, who is from our housing operations unit. But fun facts about Sherry: she's an Emory College alum, class of
a long time ago.
97. And if you heard me correctly, it's right. Her name is Sherry. My name is Sherry. We are the Sherrys on campus. And so we're really excited to walk you through this presentation to help you prepare for both move-in and orientation. And a little spoiler alert, we're also going to be talking about the fall semester and giving you some kind of topic conversations that you can be having with your students over the next few weeks to really prepare for this really wonderful transition period.
Congratulations, and we can't wait to welcome you to campus.
So we're going to get started. Today we're going to talk really about sending your students materials if you choose to send things early and the logistics behind that. We'll kind of walk you through what move-in really looks like. We're going to focus on that big Saturday, September 24th date, but some of you might have students moving in earlier on the 20th, and so we can talk a little bit about that as well. We'll talk about orientation. For those of you who have joined us before, you know producer Blaze is behind the camera, so he's with us today and might shout out some things as well, but what your students can expect, and really as you as parents and families, what you can expect throughout the 2 days that you're here, and then how you can stay connected after orientation as well. So we will go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
All right. So sending materials to your student or getting ready.
Yeah. So I think we try to make it as easy as possible for those of you who want to ship materials ahead of time. So starting now, you can send stuff. Send your large packages, send whatever you need to your student, and the post office is ready to receive them. Once you get here on campus, we're going to send out. They're still ironing out the details for exactly where you'll go, but they set up locations all over campus that will be close to the residence hall where your student's living. And so, for instance, if you're in the complex, Smith Hopkins Thomas, I know that there's a pod right behind Smith Hall. So you'll show up with your Emory ID, and they also have big rolly bins that are really convenient to help you get the packages to your building.
Great. So all of this will also be posted on our website. Is that right, Blaze? Yeah. With the directions. The key is really that your student has been provided with a P.O. box, right, that's specific to them. And so making sure that they're looking up that P.O. box in their Opus account so that they can see where they're actually shipping things. Yep. And is it that the Emory Mail Services knows which pod to send their things after that?
That's exactly what they're doing right now. We've just provided them with all the early arrival lists so they can coordinate it. And I actually misspoke a little bit earlier. I believe the shipping date is probably another week to 10 days. Everything is posted on our website, the housing website. It's also on the Rye Oak Emory Post Office website, and I think also probably on the orientation website. So the only sort of specifications you need are to be sure you ship it after that date. For our domestic students, international students, there's 2 different dates you can start to ship, and everything will be ready for you. And we're going to make it as easy as possible to get it to your room once you're here on campus.
Yeah, I will say that our move-in process, especially on those big move-in days on Tuesday the 20th and on Saturday the 24th, are pretty seamless. We have many, many, many hands on deck so that we will be helping carry heavy boxes upstairs, up elevators, carry suitcases. Sometimes parents say, I barely even got out of the car and closed the door before everything was whisked away and taken to the room. So there'll be a lot of support on campus during those days so that we can
hope
get
that you are
up.
all very pleasantly surprised at the ease of moving.
Yeah. All right, so a little bit more. I think these were the dates that Sherry was talking about, that you shouldn't send things so that they don't arrive before the 19th.
Right.
So I guess just checking with your local post office or shipping center to make sure that nothing gets delivered before the 19th because it won't land anywhere.
Right. So that's when they're actually trying to get it to the pod that's closest to your building, so you don't have to track things way across campus.
Yeah, and on this slide, and again, this presentation will be posted after today's session too, so you can reference back it, but we have the website and the email address for our Emory's Mail Services. So if there are specific questions you have, or when's the date that I should send things, those are great contacts to have just to ensure that you're getting it to the right place.
Any other questions? Yep.
Yeah. All right, I know it sounds like we might be having a little bit of a sound issue, but we are looking into that right now as well. Mel C., can you hear us? You're the one that had mentioned this, so just want to make sure that we're coming in clearly.
And the P.O. Box number is the same as the MSC number.
Yeah.
When your students log on to their Opus account, that number should be there, and that's the same thing, Sandy.
Great. All right, so move-in. Our official move-in day, the official kickoff for orientation is Saturday, August 24th, so just 23 days away. We're so excited.
I know.
And so move-in actually is from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., and this is one of the best orchestrated things that we do on campus.
Yep, so in the slide, it's 11 a.m. It's a really small window that morning. We are going to be sending out your students' time today. It will happen today. We're working on that right now. We're sort of trying to shift out all of our early arrivals because it's a very small window, and we're just asking you please to help us by coming when you're assigned. We have, recently sort of rerouted campus with the building of our great, awesome new student center that you're going to love. But that means we got to get a lot of people loaded into a narrow sort of place in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. So you're going to receive, your student will receive an email from housing later today, probably around 6 p.m. if I had to guess. And it'll say, hey, we can't wait to welcome you on campus. Your move-in time on Saturday the 24th is at 7:45 a.m. And so that's when we're prepared to welcome your student to campus. And we hope that will work. And if it can't, you can always write the housing office at housing@emory.edu to let us know. But it's our goal to get everyone moved into the building. What's going to happen is you'll get more information as well with a map that gives you your sort of exact route to come to campus. And just like Sherry mentioned earlier, parent, mom, dad, guardian, grandma is going to pull up if you're arriving by car, and they're going to be orientation leaders. There's going to be movers. There's going to be folks right there greeting you at the curb that are going to have these big bins and literally will help you unload your car, take your name, get your room number, and move it up for you. Most of the time, it happens within seconds or a minute, and we're counting on that. With getting the 1,300 people here right in those 4 hours. So once you do that, you'll park your car, and then you'll come back to join your student at the hall and help them unpack.
So I have a few follow-up questions just as I'm thinking this. You kind of mentioned please come at the start time of your move-in. So if you're 7:45, if you get here at 7:30 or 7:25, will we reroute people kind of to come back through the line?
Probably so.
Okay.
So go to the Starbucks and grab a...
Yeah, this is definitely not the time when coming early is helpful. We really do ask that you come during your specific move-in time. What if you've missed your window? So what if, I've missed 7:45, it's now 8:15, Starbucks line was a little long.
Yeah, just come on.
Just come on in. Okay. So, like we said, you'll get maps. You'll get maps to specific halls that your student is going to go to. Things are color-coded in a way that you can't mess up. And then people really know our campus well.
They're so helpful.
So, if you took a wrong turn or you end up at the wrong building, we'll easily get you back on track. We do have a lot of students coming in early. So on that Tuesday, the 20th, or if your student is an athlete, maybe even a few days before then. We still are really helping your students move in earlier too. So it'll be a similar thing. They don't have assigned times on the 20th.
Right. And I see one of the questions, if we're moving in the 20th, when should we come? I would encourage you to come earlier. We are going to have some extra help here early that morning. I think maybe from 8 to noon. So I believe 8 to 5 our move-in time. I would get here if I'm coming on the 20th. I would get here at 8. And we'll get you all settled in as soon as possible.
Yeah. And then for the athletes, that came up as well. I know athletes are coming in as early as I think the 17th. Our athletics department and the teams really have coordinated all of that move-in. And so you should get special directions from, is it from the coaches in particular?
Well, we'll send out information from the housing office as well.
Okay.
You'll come to Raoul Hall, which is the main housing office, to pick up your key for that day.
Right.
And I see a parent in Nashville. That's my hometown. I'm from Nashville. Yes, if your student comes on the 20th and then you come back to bring their stuff later, I think that's great.
Absolutely, for sure. Usually, I don't know, for pre-orientation programs, students often come with maybe 1 or 2 suitcases and some linens just to sleep, their toothbrush, toiletries, and then the rest of the stuff, if parents and families are coming, can come on that Saturday moving day.
I think that's great.
All right. So here is the orientation schedule. This is really for our main orientation event, which kicks off Saturday the 24th. So you'll see that move-in is there. Some other highlights for the day, we have something called the Orientation Expo. So this is a giant fair that will take place in our brand new student center, as Sherry mentioned. And it will have lots of the academic departments, so anthropology, biology, dance, theater, all of those, as well as many of our campus life offices on campus. So housing will be there, residence life, all the student activities will be there as well. So it's a really fun day. We serve lunch as well for all of our new students, families, siblings, grandparents, guardians, neighbors, anybody who's helping with the move-in process. So we have that from 11 to 2. Another big thing that happens on campus is our inaugural, it's not inaugural to the campus, but for your students, their first Coke Toast. And so we have some lovely traditions.
It's one of my favorites.
President Stirk will kick it off, that we all get to toast each other, and the arrival of the class of 2023, which is really, really fun. And then parents will get to go to hear from President Stirk directly and Dean Elliott, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, at the presidential address. We have a number of parent and family sessions throughout that Saturday as well. I know we'll be moderating a panel that's joint between the academic side and campus life to talk about advising and what to do if students kind of are feeling homesick, in trouble, just not finding their way. So that panel will go a few times. And then Bridget Reardon, who is our Associate Vice President of Parent and Family Programs, will be hosting a series of panels and other kind of workshops that parents and families can go to later in the afternoon while your students are doing other programming, to really hear about the support that's available for parents and families. So she'll be a great resource for you too.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
See, the Sherrys think alike.
We do. Great minds. Bridget is such a wonderful resource for parents and families. So I would definitely, if you have any questions, I know she'll be very visible at Move-In.
Yeah. Then on Sunday the 25th, it's really a half day for our parents and families. So we do have a number of sessions. I know there'll be a health and wellness session, so hearing again from our partners in the counseling center, student health, wellness and immunizations, and our campus support services. So they'll do a panel. There'll be panels on Greek life, on getting involved. You'll get to hear from Carla Freeman, who's our Dean of Faculty and also an Emory College parent, kind of about that transition. So she does a session. So a number of different sessions, along with some Emory discovery activities and tours if you didn't get to do a tour, and some religious services too, if that's something that you like to participate with your family. So we do ask that parents and families say their official goodbyes on Sunday at noon. And that's because we are then transitioning with your students into the programming to get them ready for the first day of classes. So orientation, it's quick, it's packed. We have a lot of great things and programs on the schedule, but officially for parents and families, the orientation ends at noon on Sunday.
And I think that's a great, a great point, Sherry, because really Sunday, your students there's so much to focus on. It's really hard, I think, when there's families to divide their time, because they want to be with you and see you and eat at the better restaurant that you may take them to. but there's so much that they have to accomplish on that Sunday, and to think ahead to schedules and classes, that it's really important that they're able to focus on one thing instead of two.
Right. There were some questions I'm seeing here too, and I know producer Blaze is doing a magical job of answering them, about programming between the 20th and the 23rd. So for some of our pre-orientation programs, if there are any international students joining or families joining us, I know that there are family sessions for the international students early. For our STEM Pathways students, there will be a little bit of programming on that Wednesday. But we understand if you can't stay, that is absolutely okay. We'll take really good care of your students. Or like as Sherry said, if you're dropping off and then maybe coming back for the Saturday. Our really big official programming is just that Saturday and Sunday morning for parents and families, unless otherwise noted. Yeah. Okay. So the full orientation schedule, there'll also actually be a few orientation schedules. There'll be one for first year students and then one for parents and families. We are putting the final dots on the I's and crosses on the T's, and we're hoping to have those published very early next week. So there will be printed orientation schedules when you physically come to campus, but there's a wonderful app called Guidebook, and you will get directions for how to download that. It's really great because you can filter for parent and family sessions, you can filter for first year students. If you're a parent of a transfer student, transfer students have a schedule as well, and so a really easy way to do that. As anybody who's ever printed anything knows, as soon as you print something,
it changes.
It can change. And so really Guidebook and our website will have the most up-to-date schedules throughout the orientation program.
That's great.
So after you say your goodbyes, and you don't have to leave Atlanta, we'd love for you to stick around, but just official programming, your students will still have 2 full days of orientation that really get them ready for their first day of classes on Wednesday the 28th. The Monday the 26th is a really big academic day. So I know your students are going through that pre-registration advising sessions right now. So we've had hundreds and hundreds of them talk to our advisors, really talking about how to pick their classes, what does a balanced schedule look like, all of that. And we know that it's a lot of information, and they won't remember everything from that session on July 15th or from today. And so on Monday the 26th, we really review a lot of the content that your students have been receiving throughout the summer to make sure everybody's on the same page. All of your students will be assigned to a pre-major faculty advisor once they come to campus. So that's a faculty member who they'll get to talk to just about what it means to be an Emory student, and help them connect to other people and places and resources on campus. I will tell you this right now, that the faculty member probably will not be in an academic area that your student is interested in, mostly because your students' interests change faster than I can say change.
As fast as the orientation guide that we haven't printed yet.
Exactly. And so really thinking about that pre-major faculty advisor is just a warm and friendly face, someone who's going to help refer them to the experts on campus that they need to talk to.
Someone that's knowledgeable and can really answer their questions.
Right.
Because sometimes there's a lot of anxiety about, does my schedule have to be perfect, or I didn't get this one class, my life's going to end.
Right.
Which isn't the case.
Not at all.
And this faculty, there's a lot of questions surrounding that, and the faculty members are so wonderful at working with your student on these questions.
Right.
So
the other thing is faculty members probably are not always the best people to know about the details of housing or a roommate conflict or meal swipes or other things that are happening on campus, and so making sure that students feel comfortable asking around in their network. So there are going to be lots of other official and unofficial advisors. In Res Life, for anybody who actually tuned into the housing one, all of your students will have a resident advisor.
Yeah, so in our residence halls, we have wonderful staff. We have something pretty unique to Emory. I really don't know of other schools that do it. We have 2 sophomore advisors on every freshman floor, and first year floor, excuse me. And so these students are volunteers. There are some of our most wonderful student leaders. They're people that volunteer to live the first year experience to really help your students transition to college. So they'll have sophomore advisors, they'll have an RA who's, again, vetted, hired by our staff. These are some of the most amazing students on campus that are doing this because they're really excited about being someone in your child's life. And then there's also complex directors for all of our buildings. Residence Life has an amazing staff. I can't say enough about how great they are. So there's an adult living in the building who most times has their office right off the lobby of the building. And those folks are just some of the most wonderful colleagues I have in campus life that are there for your student. They not only sort of oversee all the programming and all the ways for your students, to get involved in the community, but they're such a great confidant resource for your student.
Yeah, so needless to say, there's a lot of advisors, even if it's not one official person. And that's something that we've been talking about with your students throughout the summer. This idea that advising is going to be a network of people, and that every student's network is going to look a little bit different because they're going to have different interests or different needs at different times of the semester.
Absolutely.
So on that Monday the 26th, they're going to hear from professional academic advisors, just making sure that they have the nuts and bolts down. They'll meet with their faculty advisor, again, to get another welcome. And then there's going to be a whole afternoon of opportunities to hear from specific departments or just to go and meet with faculty from different departments. So let's say they're not sure about placement in a language class, or they're not really sure if they should take 1 or 2 science classes. The faculty are going to be available for them to talk about, which coincides with their 3rd registration appointment. So we allow the first year students to have one more day to fiddle with their schedules before that add drop swap period. For those of us who have been through college ourselves, the beloved add drop swap period where everybody changes their schedule, that begins on Wednesday the 28th. So Monday and Tuesday are really kind of the final pieces to make sure that your students feel really comfortable and prepared to start their very first day of college on Wednesday the 28th. In addition to, there are, for your students who are interested in things like business or pre-health or dual degree, they will have track advising in addition to those department advising sessions too. So in case your students have missed any of those over the summer, they're still posted online and they'll have access to it, but they'll be able to meet those advisors in real life as well. So
that's great.
Yeah, lots of things going on. All right, so after you've said your goodbyes, you've turned your students over, they're officially college students, there are lots of ways for you as parents and family members to stay connected. So we mentioned Bridget Reardon. She's our AVP of Parent and Family Programs. And we really hand the baton over to her office to make sure that parents and families are feeling connected and supported throughout the rest of your time here at Emory. Her office actually has a Parent and Family Programs monthly newsletter. She's pulling in content from all over campus, so not just about what's happening socially in residence halls, but also academic deadlines, the calendar, kind of things that are coming up in your student's life. So that will be a great resource for you. Just kind of a side note, we are pulling all parent and family emails from your student's Opus account, meaning that your student needed to actually enter that into their contact information for us to download. So if you have not received any emails this summer, which if you're joining us now, that wouldn't be the case.
Right.
But if you haven't received anything or you're just not sure, talk to your student about adding your current contact information into Opus so that you have access to that. You can always reach out to the Parent, Student, Families website directly and say, please add me to your listserv as well. Another great resource is the Office for Undergraduate Education. So that's my department, or OUE as we officially call it. We are basically academic affairs in the College of Arts and Sciences. So for now, all of your students are starting in the College of Arts and Sciences. Eventually, some might continue on to the business school or to the School of Nursing, but for now, they're all ours. And the OUE has a really great reference page called A to Z Resources, where we have quick links to policies, to forms if you need them, and just generally, I'm not sure where to go, where to start. OUE is a great place to do that. So you might want to go ahead and bookmark that OUE A to Z Resources page. For those of you who have tried to use the Emory search function in the websites, I think Google is better. So Google Emory OUE A to Z, it'll pop right
That's
up
exactly
there as
right.
well.
That's a pro
A
tip.
Use Google. Thanks. You're welcome, Google. And then finally, the Student Success Programs and Services is an office out of our Campus Life unit as well. And this is run by an amazing team, really, of social workers who are connecting the dots across campus and in the Atlanta area. So everything from first generation programming to food security, emergency book loans, just not feeling connected or not knowing where to go. This team of staff knows everybody, and so they're a really great resource as well. And if as a parent or family member you're just concerned, maybe you haven't heard from your student in 2 or 3 days, or just you're not getting the information that you need or you feel you want, that's another great resource. So all 3 of these websites, if you Google any of the 3 and you just want to have them kind of on hand or as a bookmark, would be really good to have.
Absolutely.
All right, so now we're going into the dates, and we'll update this because there's one extra day off for Thanksgiving that we'll have. But we know looking ahead, some of you are already booking flights or buses or trains home for certain days, or you want to know when your student's going to be in or out of class. So we thought we'd give kind of a big overview of that. So as you know, your students are starting classes Wednesday, August 28th, and then they have a day off for Labor Day. So that's kind of fun. But it's a nice one-day break in there where they can kind of regroup.
Exhale.
Yeah, take a time. And our residence halls are open. Our dining halls are all open. There is professional staff available, so we promise they're going to be in good hands during that time as well. I would say for the most part, people are not leaving campus since they just got back, so there will not be a shortage of things to do or people to talk to.
Not at all.
Our first really big break is fall break. It's only a 2-day fall break, but I think it's a much needed one right around week 6. So this year that's October 14th and 15th, a Monday and a Tuesday. Also, no classes.
No classes those 2 days. The residence halls are open though.
Yep, and also the dining halls are open as well, so that shouldn't be an issue. People ask us all the time, do people leave town? Do they stay? Is somebody going to be lonely? What's your take on this?
My take on it is it's about maybe 50-50 or 2/3, 1/3. You know, a lot of what happens is people at this point aren't booking flights home necessarily.
Right.
They're coming into campus, they're meeting their roommates and their floor mates. I'm actually an Emory alum, and I remember my first fall break. A bunch of us went to Savannah with someone on the floor. She was from Savannah, so that was a fun thing to do. So it's my sense that some people now might say, hey, I definitely want to get home that weekend. I know myself enough to know that that's what I'm gonna want. A lot of people plan this later, and then a lot of people stay. There's so much to do in Atlanta. And your student's going to be on campus, in the first year. It's also a great time to just really experience,
the city,
other parts of Atlanta.
Absolutely. The weather's perfect in October, too. It's a good time to be outside.
Festival season in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's always festival season in Atlanta, to be honest. But, yeah, that's good. There are also some neat programs. I know through our volunteer Emory, we have things called alternative fall breaks where students are doing service trips, sometimes in a different city, sometimes locally. So lots to do over that. It's midterm season. We don't have an official midterm week like we do with finals. So midterms really probably begin mid-September and can go all the way to Thanksgiving. But so I know a lot of students use that time to kind of catch up or plan ahead too.
Get ahead of it.
Yeah. Then the next big break is Thanksgiving. And so this is actually, you have one more day on here, but what classes for Thanksgiving week are off Wednesday through Friday. So that's a nice longer break.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well. And I think the dates posted here are just the Wednesday, Thursday, but your students do have the Friday off as well. And
again, our residence halls stay open, so nobody's, being kicked out of their home here.
Yeah.
But I would say different from fall break, most of our students go somewhere.
So the big question is about flights. Well, can I just have them come home on Friday the 22nd and skip those 2 classes? I would not book those tickets yet now. To be safe, Tuesday night at the very earliest and Wednesday morning. But we know that most classes are still meeting on that Monday and Tuesday, so the 24th and the 25th. There could be quizzes or homework assignments or other things that faculty members are doing. So I would not plan on your Thanksgiving travel break until your students have their syllabi and they're for sure, they know that they're not going to miss anything, because the university is open on that Monday and Tuesday.
And as Sherry mentioned earlier, really up to Thanksgiving, there are tests and midterms, and you wouldn't want your student to miss out
Right.
On a test. So, and our residence halls, to be clear, there's a question that popped up. They are open until we close December 19th for winter break.
Right. And the questions, do students from the West Coast go home on Thanksgiving? Yeah, a lot of them
Absolutely.
do. But to Sherry's point, maybe they have a new friend from Savannah or Nashville or somewhere closer and they want to go home for Thanksgiving. That's great. We also have a number of alums or sometimes faculty who will invite students to Thanksgiving dinners. And I know
The
that
alumni office has a program
Yeah.
where they can match you up.
which is cool. And then on campus, I know that the dining hall will
Does
do
a big Thanksgiving
dinner too. So
which is great.
I should probably come to that.
Yeah, I've been to it. It's great.
Yeah.
We have great food on campus.
For your students coming back, though, we do expect that they're back by Sunday because classes do resume that Monday. And again, saying, oh, I have to miss that test because my parents booked my flight probably won't fly. So making sure that you're asking about your student syllabus and that they get back so that they can come back. Those final 2 weeks of class are really important. And so making sure that your student isn't missing anything before the final exam period is something to consider. We do have a whole week for final exams. So those start on, I believe the 12th is a Wednesday the 12th through the following Wednesday, the 18th. Your student will know their final exam schedule on day one of classes because one, they'll get a syllabus, but two, all of the final exams are actually already planned out based on their class schedule. So let's say a class that meets on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 9:50 will have an exam slot on December 13th at 1 p.m. And so our registrar does a really great job of pre-planning that. That's not to say that every professor might say, nope, we're not doing an exam, we're doing a paper or something else, but at least the exam period times will be scheduled.
To help you plan.
Yeah. And there will be exams up through that Wednesday night. Usually it's one of the big science exams, maybe biology or chemistry that's in that last period. So similar to Thanksgiving, students saying, but my parents booked my flight a day early. Can I take my exam at a different time? Usually not.
Yeah.
So you really want to make sure that your student is very, very clear about their final exam schedule. We walk them through this in our PACE class. We tell them weeks and weeks and weeks in advance to be checking that final exam schedule so that it's not a surprise. We explain to them if there's a conflict or something that they need to negotiate, how to do that. So they're going to get all of that information. But those are good questions to ask them once they have a fall schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And our residence halls close the next day at noon. So the last final is probably on the 18th, starting at 5 p.m.
Right.
And if your student has that final, just encourage them to start thinking about packing early.
Yep.
And of course, you don't have to pack up your whole room, right? When they return, they'll be returning to the same room, more than likely. So they're just going to need to pack what they need to bring home and be ready to check out.
Yeah, this is sometimes where students flip their closets, right, winter to spring, except for they're coming back in January, and we've been known to have snowstorms in January. So yes, Atlanta gets cold and icy, more icy than anything else. But we'll talk about that. I know all of the residence hall staff or RAs will have meetings about what students need to do before they go
check
home
out.
for winter break. But winter break is a time when the residence halls are closed, dining is closed, and so if your student is not coming home to you, making sure that they have a place to stay, maybe if it's with friends or relatives closer to Atlanta, that's fine as well. But they do need a plan for that. And then the residence halls will reopen on January 12th. That's a Sunday. Students will have one day off that Monday the 13th before classes begin, January 14th on a Tuesday. And again, we really want students back. so that they are here for that first day of classes. It's important that they are not starting a new semester behind.
Absolutely.
And actually, sorry, we forgot a really fun weekend as I was going down the list.
Parents.
October 25th through the
Family
27th.
weekend.
Yay, family weekend and homecoming. So Bridget would have been
Yeah.
sad if I missed that one.
So this is a few years ago, Emory decided to combine family weekend and homecoming, which just gives us so much amazing energy here on campus. But there's so many events planned that weekend on campus and around Atlanta for some of the marquee sort of class reunions. I had a big one a couple of years ago. And so if you can come, it's a great time for you to come see the campus, talk to your students about what classes that they're in. It's a great time, and usually there's really great weather that weekend as well. And
a few concerts
on the field, yeah. So we hope that you come back, and we'll be excited to welcome you back for family weekend.
And there will be a schedule in early fall about the events and the sessions that will be held and other things that you can do.
They'll do a big announcement for who the concert is.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any insider information? I'll think of that. Okay. So before we sign off for today, we just wanted to talk a little bit about topics or expectations that you might want to discuss with your students. And we're hoping that a lot of these things have already come up as you're talking about transitioning from high school to college. But between the two of us, we've been on this campus a long time. And we know we have a lot of these conversations with students. And so if we can encourage you as our parent allies to be having these conversations as well, that's really, really helpful. So I guess let's just go through kind of the tiles topic by topic.
That sounds perfect. So the first one is managing stress. And, I think for all of us, just being aware that you're about to go through a big transition, and talking to your student about, how they handle stress, what they do, what they can do, because we have so many resources here when they are stressed. My favorite place on campus is Low Water Park, and so if your student needs to clear their head by just getting away, you would have no idea when you're on the path there and the trails that you're in the middle of a city. You feel like you're in the middle of this beautiful wilderness. And so it can be a good place to get some quiet time. I laughed about this last year. I had a family friend who moved in, and I'm a big extrovert. No one has to guess twice on that one. When you move in, it's a lot. There are a lot of people there. They are singing, they are clapping, they're moving your things in. And for someone who's not wired that way, it can be really overwhelming, right? And so Low Water is like a great place to go and sort of escape when there's, a ton of folks around. But there's talk to your student about who they can plug into, they can reach out to. I think the most important thing you can teach your student right now is how to advocate for themselves, how to meet your RA, meet folks that can help you, that can provide you resources, or even just someone to talk to.
I would say too, the stress is going to come from all sorts of places, whether it's because you're sharing a room for the first time, or that class is really hard, or maybe just the humidity is a lot in August, whatever the stressful point is. But like Sherry said, advocating yourself and just reaching out saying, I'm feeling this stress, not holding it in. I meet with a lot of students at the end of the semester, and when they finally kind of come out with whatever it is that was stressing them out, and just saying, here's where I am, and going, great, we can help you with that. And
exactly.
Okay. So yeah, lots of ways to manage stress, talking. We have meditation groups that happen on campus. We actually have a stress clinic through our counseling center that teaches about biofeedback, in addition to counselors and other things to talk to. But not everything has to be a counseling center appointment, right?
Right.
And so kind of using those...
knowing yourself and knowing what you need.
What you need as well. So that's a good kind of segue into other things that might cause stressors, or might be causing stress, like academic expectations. So we know that all of your students are really bright. That's why they were accepted to Emory. We know that they have the capability and capacity to succeed here, which is great. But it's different. Academics are different than high school, even if they went to really rigorous, high demanding places. They're not going to physically be in class as much as they were in high school. So taking those 15 to 19 academic credits might only translate to 15 to 19 hours out of the 168 in the week.
Right.
So balancing that out, knowing that if you only have 2 to 3 exams in the year, you cannot wait until the night before to cram, 6 weeks of chemistry in. But we have so many academic support resources on campus. All of our faculty members have office hours where they are waiting patiently for your students to come visit.
No, absolutely.
We have tutoring, we have group sessions, we have academic coaches who actually help with general study skills. You'd be surprised how many of your students have made it through without actually learning a study skill. So that's how smart they are.
Yep.
But they're going to need those skills here. So lots of things like that.
Yeah, and I think just having the conversation with your student, this is they're jumping into a bowl where everyone was at the top of their class in high school.
Right.
And it's just not going to happen here necessarily for your student, and that's okay. I think Sherry and I have seen so many tears in our offices for students that have made their first B.
Yeah.
And, just sort of thinking about it, talking about it, I think can certainly help ahead of time. But it's different, everything about college classes, students are like, oh, well, I've done AP classes. It's not the same.
It's just not the same. Yeah.
So
it's better.
So my favorite question, of course, that comes up at move-in day every year is laundry.
Yay!
For many of our students, this is the first time that they've had to think about doing laundry on their own. And so all of our facilities, of course, have laundry rooms. The laundry's free. There's actually even sort of a technology app where you can see View Watcher if there's one that's empty for you to come downstairs or down the hall to put your load in. There's also we have a partner on campus Laundry by Tide. So there is a service if your student wants to have a courier do their laundry and bring it back once a week. The Tide truck's here I think twice a week. There's a day of the week where you give it to them, and then the day of the week where they bring it back. So some of our students do some and send some, and you can sign up for that when you get to campus.
Yeah, but I'd advocate for everybody learning how to do laundry.
Absolutely. This is a skill we all need to know
life
at some
skill.
point.
I taught a lot of people on my first year floor how to do laundry.
Yes, I still do.
Yeah.
I still answer those questions on move-in day, so.
Very fun.
But there's plenty of facilities in the building for, the number of students in the building. Some of our larger buildings, like LSM, I know it's in 2 different spots, but so they will be just fine. Maybe you can have them try out a load at home before you come to campus. So.
Good practice.
What about sharing a room? So this is a big one, of course, and I know in the housing office we've heard from many of you, hey, but I put down I wanted a single. Why didn't I get a single? We don't have very many singles in the first year community, so more likely than not, I think probably 95% of you will be sharing a room. And so for a lot of you, this is the first time your students ever had to share a room. And I would say, Sherry, communication is so important. I think really great roommate pair relationships, these aren't folks that are best friends. They have separate friend groups maybe. It's really just about, this is what I expect, this is what I need. We tried, for those of you all, more students than not opted to get a random roommate. So,
cool.
And I think that's a myth. People think everyone paired up already. That's not the case.
Yeah.
That's not the case. But when we did pair up the randoms, we did pay attention to the questions that your student answered about room temperature when you go to bed, sort of, are you neat or messy? Some of the fundamental things that we can hope help with this sharing a small space. But just think about the things that are important and make sure your student feels equipped to communicate with their roommate.
I heard that temperature is actually one of the biggest issues like
Yeah.
just how hot or cold the room should be kept, more than
Absolutely.
anything else. And as a PACE facilitator, so I teach some of our first year students in the fall. I'm always shocked when I say, well, have you talked to your roommate about it? Or have you
Nope.
brought it up? And yeah, no is the answer. So even just kind of having those practice conversations, that's where the Res Life staff, the RAs, the sophomore advisors are all trained too. Your student can practice having that conversation or even use them kind of as a mediator if need be. But I think it's one of the best things that comes out of kind of the college experience is learning how to share space
Yeah,
effectively.
and just living with someone that might be completely different from you in
Right.
a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So we're going to go down to the alcohol and drug use. So right now, all of your students are actually completing a module in Emory Essentials about alcohol, EDU, and kind of Title IX. Community expectations of treating themselves and each other. And so we have very clear policies and guidelines about alcohol and drug use. Almost all of your students are coming in under the age of 21, so it is not legal for them
Right.
to use alcohol or drugs that are not prescribed to them. So that's really important to note as well. That being said, students are living on their own for the first time, and they're in a community that is open, right? They're not locked into rooms or onto campus too. So just having those expectation questions and talking about it is really important. Again, the RAs and SAs are great. They're trained, and if something comes up or there's a problem or a question, to talk about it. And we also have professional staff in our Office of Health Promotions and Student Health. So if it's either about their own alcohol or drug use or somebody else's, that they have professional people that they can speak to as well about how to negotiate that.
Yeah, and safety is always the most important thing. We're realistic here. We know that although it's prohibited for anyone under 21, there's going to be times when it comes up. So I think having that conversation with your student is really important about safety. And if they were in a certain scenario, like what would they do and what they should do. And all of that's just really really important, because you don't want your student to be in a situation where they just absolutely don't know what to do.
Right.
And we never want anyone to not feel safe.
Yeah. And on the flip side, if your student is a person who is never going to use alcohol or drugs, and wonderful too, but feels kind of awkward about other people doing things, having that conversation about how to self-advocate or how to get themselves into situations where they feel safe as well. So on that side too.
Absolutely.
All right, using credit cards and paying bills.
Wow, this one certainly every parent should have this conversation with their student.
Yes.
They're and just talking to them about they're going to be on their own. They're going to be contacted by credit card companies. They are out there. We don't allow them to be on campus and try to sign your student up for a bunch of cards like we did in the 90s when I was a student.
Yeah, me too.
But that's certainly something as a family member you want to think about, because if this is the first time on their own, there are opportunities for credit cards and talking about responsible ways to use money and spend money, and it's certainly important. And Sherry and I have both seen students that sort of, because they haven't had this conversation, have gotten into a lot of trouble pretty quickly. I'm sure I said that. I mean, I've certainly had those students.
I've had these conversations, yes.
And so we want to make sure that your student makes good choices when it comes to these lenders that are out there, and credit cards and
budgeting. Actually, our financial aid office, even if your student's not receiving financial aid, has a whole financial literacy program that any student can go through. I think they have budgeting templates too. I mean, just creating simple budgets and saying, this is how much I have. For any of your students who are going to have jobs, maybe not for the first time, but either on campus or off campus, kind of managing those paychecks.
For the first time, actually.
Or if you're getting a refund check, right? You get that check at the beginning of the semester. It's supposed to last.
Needs to last the whole semester.
Yeah, so those are the conversations I've had with students. Either, I had all that money and I had a great September, and now,
it's December
or October, and what am I going to do? So Budgeting is good to do, and lots of good tools online too about how to set simple budgets.
There are, and because their first year students are part of the dining plan. I mean, that's the good news too, right? There's going to be
Food
opportunities to eat, even in December. It's not going to be ramen in your room or whatever. But the financial aid office actually does a fantastic job, I think, with talking about this. If your student is going to get a job, I'm sure this is in the information you have, but there's if they have federal work study, there's a work study fair pretty early. I mean, so they can get started right away with working.
And then there are jobs, other jobs on campus, both in our PE center, the Woodpack, and the library are probably our two biggest employers, even for non-work study too. There are a lot of restaurants that are in close walking distance, other kind of volunteer opportunities that students can get. So lots of opportunities.
Yeah, there's a ton of opportunities on campus
for that. All right, scheduling health appointments and managing prescriptions. This is really, really big. For those of you who actually tuned into our first parent webinar when we had Sharon Rabinovitz, who's our director of student health, and talked about immunizations. If your students are on any prescriptions right now, you need to have a plan about how they're going to get their medications, where they will renew, or if there's an emergency, where to go. Emory's really lucky because we have 2 CVS's literally on either end of campus.
Yeah, walking distance. So that would be a great plan to switch to that provider.
Right.
If you're using your home doctor for some of these medications, it's really easy to get to.
Yeah. There's also a public supermarket that's pretty close as well. So whatever your insurance plan is, making sure that you're just switching over your prescription so that they have access to it. I know sometimes students will come to me and at the end something has happened and they say, well, I haven't taken my medication in 2 weeks because they forgot to renew it or to tell you that they needed it as well. So having that plan in place now is really, really important. We do also have a great student health center. And so whether or not you're on the Emory insurance or not, if you're on your own insurance, visiting student health is free. The visit is always free. So there should never be a reason where students don't feel like they can go to student health. Where the charges could come through is if labs or prescriptions or other things come up from that visit. And the doctors at Student Health will always walk your students through that and what their options are going to be so that if your insurance plan is not covered through the Emory Student Health Center, they'll give options about where to go. But the visit itself is free. And students actually can log into the patient portal, the student patient portal, to schedule appointments. I think they even have 24-hour
really
kind of portals, nursing questions. So like if they have the flu or food poisoning and they call in, Student Health is probably going to say, please stay home. We don't want your flu to
right.
to get the rest of us either. Or after a certain number of days say, no, we really think you should come in. But there is that kind of online chat function
which
as
is
well.
Great. Yeah. And there's also an ER right in the center of campus.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell folks sometimes that are nervous to, a lot of what happens is not an ER visit. Actually,
yes. Most things are not an ER visit, and so that would be another conversation for your students about when to go to the ER and when to call student health, because I think sometimes students go, but I've never made my own doctor's appointment before, so I'll just go to the emergency room, and that can come with a bigger sticker price than free student health.
You should always go to student health first, because if they refer to your student to the ER, they'll let the ER know your student is coming, which has actually happened a few years ago with a student. They wanted to go to the ER, and I'm like, no, let's go to student health. So I took her to student health, and we went right back to the ER for an appendix.
But at least then we knew. All right, well, the final 2 tiles here, because I know we're coming close to time, are just about personal relationships and safety. As I mentioned, your students are going through some training right now about personal relationships and safety. We'll talk about it a lot during the kind of first few weeks of school, but having those conversations too about treating others how you would like to be treated. I wish we didn't have to say that out loud to our students, but kind of the rules that we learned in kindergarten, if we could apply them to college.
Right. Well, and it's such an exciting time.
Yeah.
They're going to be meeting so many people. My advice is to tell them to really think about who their friends are and have a buddy system. It's so important. They may go and meet someone and everyone is cheering them on to go, meet this person that they knew for 30 seconds, for a date. Let's take a buddy with us, to just be safe, right? It's important. And I think being a good friend, talking to your student about being a good friend with, their hallmates, their roommates, the friends they meet, so that they're really safe when they come to school.
And Emory's a really safe campus. Blue light phones all over the place. Our police staff is amazing. We have services that are escorts. So even if it's walking from the library to the residence hall at night, you can always have an escort or a buddy. So we don't expect that there are problems, but having those plans in place are always really good too. So hopefully we gave you lots to talk about over the next 23 days. You can pick a tile a day to have conversations with your students. Other things just to kind of talk about them, like what are they excited about? What are they nervous about? This is my favorite. How often should you check in? You, meaning parent, family. How often are you going to call or text? And then what's the plan if you don't hear back? And so I promise if you don't hear from them within 24 hours, most likely they're in the library or studying or just have a lot going on. But come up with that kind of communication plan so that you're not really nervous about not hearing from them either.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah. I know for me, I used to like to call home at 3 a.m. My dad really appreciated that 'cause that was when it was quiet and I could talk to him. We laugh about that now, but again, reminding them that it's okay to ask for help, not only from you, but from others. Just good lessons. And then really that transition does take time. So I know so often we say college is the best 4 years of your life. But people saying that are those who have then been out and had a lot of perspective to look back.
Exactly.
I'd like to say that college is the beginning best 4 years of a very long life, but it takes time to get there. So it's not going to happen in 4 hours or 4 days or even maybe 4 weeks. It just takes time. And we know that, but kind of helping to normalize that for your students as well is really important.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want them to feel discouraged because the first week was really rough. The first week's really rough for a lot of people. Yeah. And if they have this perception that it's not, that's wrong. Like, it's hard for everyone.
It is. It definitely is. And for the extroverts out there, rah-rah, yay-yang all the time, they're probably feeling a little bit of that too. They just express it a little bit differently. All right, well, I'm reading through the comments real quickly. It looks like producer Blaze has been very, very busy answering questions.
She's had a lot of great questions.
Yeah, great questions. We're so excited to welcome you and your students, the entire class of 2023 in just a few weeks. You can come find us during orientation.
Absolutely.
We will be around, so say, we know the Sherrys. We'll get our t-shirts made in time for that too. But thank you so much for tuning in. Again, New Student Programs website, great resource, and then the Parent Family website as well.
Yeah, Sherry has her, the orientation website. If there were any housing, I know there were so many questions. I was trying to read the questions as we went through. If there's any housing questions that didn't get answered, just feel free to write housing@emory.edu, and I'm happy to jump in, or one of my teammates will jump in and answer them, and we can't wait to welcome you in person.
Yay. Have a great first day of August.
Yep.
See you soon.
See you soon.